Hello and welcome to this episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, November 6th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We are coming off a packed sports weekend. Another huge day yesterday in the NFL, along with a huge day on Saturday in college football. And tonight we get set for a massive Monday night showdown between the New York Jets and the visiting Los Angeles Chargers at MetLife Stadium. The place should be rocking tonight. The energy should be roaring. That place should be absolutely popping. All the fans going to the games tonight, definitely make noise and be loud because the New York Jets have an opportunity to get within a half game of first place in the AFC East with a win tonight over the 3-4 Chargers at home. So we'll see how it all plays out. We'll get you set up for that game a little later on. We'll obviously break down all the action in the NFL over the last over the course of yesterday. Another one of those early Sundays with the game happening in Germany between the Chiefs and the Dolphins, and you basically watch football from, at least on the East Coast, from 9:30 to about 11 o'clock from the conclusion of the Bengals game and the Bills. So yesterday was a full day of football. We'll recap it all, and next week we get to do it all over again because it's the Patriots and Colts in Frankfurt, Germany, as they'll play next weekend early on in the morning. So next week, another packed and exciting week of football ahead of us as well. But we got to focus on this week and especially tonight if you're a New York Jet fan because, man, I think this might be the most excited I've been for a game this season so far. I think probably the Bills game obviously was the most excited, but in terms of just implications, this by far I think is the biggest game the New York Jets have played this season so far. And you can say, that Eagles game was huge and they came out with a victory. That was big, no doubt about it. But this game, that Giant game last week, rivalry, all that stuff. But this game, with the way the division shook out over the weekend with the Patriots losing, which was great, right? I mean, the Patriots are irrelevant. They're 2-7. They're irrelevant. It's great to see the Patriots this bad. It brings a smile to your face, even if you're not. I think that's the one thing. AFC East fans, we can all agree that we can all be happy as we look down and see that the 2-7 Patriots are in last place and they're irrelevant. I think a lot of football fans can agree that we're all excited that the Patriots are awful this season and they're pretty much irrelevant and their season's pretty much over. I think we're all can agree that's a great feeling. But then you have the Bills losing to the Bengals. And then you have the Dolphins losing to the Chiefs. And the division now is wide open for the New York Jets. So a huge game tonight. And look, I think the Jets match up well. I like our chances. And hey, you come out, prime time, you're at home. Find a way to be competent on offense. Let it rip with Zach. Let it loose. Take some chances. Defense does its job. Find a way to get out of there with a win. Whatever it takes, get to 5-3. The AFC East is wide open, and it's even more wide open than it was going into the weekend. Because I think we can all agree, again, it was pretty open going into the weekend, but with the Dolphins and the Bills both losing, and as we know, the New York Jets have 2 games coming up in a couple weeks against the Bills and the Dolphins back-to-back. They can set themselves up in prime position to completely take over the division with a couple wins here over the next 2 games. And it starts tonight against the Chargers. You lose tonight, you take a massive step backwards, and it even hurts your chances because then down the road, Chargers have the tiebreaker over you. It's a massive game tonight at home. You got to find a way to win. And hopefully they do. So we'll get into that a little bit later on, my pick and what the Jets need to do to win. But we'll break down all the games here first. We'll start with the Giants. If you're a Giant fan waking up today, I really don't know what you're probably feeling. You're probably feeling a whole lot of emotions. You're probably upset. You're probably frustrated. You're probably kind of in that stage a lot of just Jet fans were in with Rodgers where you just feel for Daniel Jones. That's where we'll start. You really do feel for Daniel Jones. His whole career with the Giants, just going back to, when he was drafted, coming out of Duke, was very underrated. I don't think a lot of people loved him at 6th overall. I think a lot of people felt you could have potentially got him with your second pick that round and, maybe traded back. Gettleman could have done things differently. And even at number 6, I don't think a lot of people agree Daniel Jones was the pick there. He comes in, sits behind Eli, starts, plays pretty well his rookie year, had the turnover problem, was plagued by bad coaching, specifically under the Joe Judge era. Obviously, Pat Shermer didn't help, but the Joe Judge era certainly didn't help either. And then you go into last year, which was a big year for him, a big opportunity under Brian Daboll, kind of a year where Daboll, Joe Schoen were laying the groundwork, seeing what pieces fit, seeing what pieces don't fit, and Daniel Jones was really front and center. A lot of people were wondering, is this it? Last year, a lot of people felt was a prove-it year for Daniel Jones. He either plays well and he gets a contract extension, or he doesn't play well, and the New York Giants win 3-4 games, look for a quarterback in the draft, and rebuild and let Daboll develop him. Daniel Jones plays well, wins a playoff game, and this year it has gone completely south. And you feel for Jones again because he's been plagued by a lot, right? He had the neck injury. He's had a lot of highs and lows where there's moments where he looks really good. He's able to use his legs, able to make some plays with his arms. You can see the potential, and then there's other moments where he takes a step back. He's not the same quarterback you're usually seeing. There's a lot of highs and lows. The fan base really his entire career has been split 50-50 on him. Gets the big contract extension, $40 million, 4 years, all that great stuff. And now he goes down with an injury. And I think a lot of this is on the coaching staff. I think the injury management was brutal. Even the way they were using him yesterday with a compromised neck to then roll him out there, continue to roll him out there. He was clearly hurt with the knee. And then they rolled him out there for another play, and that's when it looks like he completely busted up his ACL. And you feel for him because there's a good chance, and you have to see how the rest of the season plays out because there's a whole lot of questions because now as a Giant fan, you're entering down the road of, and it's a bumpy road because you don't know what to expect. You're entering down a road now where you're going to have to probably go in and draft a quarterback. And who that quarterback is, well, the debate can start right now. We're only sitting here in November, but the New York Giants are 2-7. They've still got games coming up against the Cowboys. They've still got to play the Eagles twice. There's a good chance this team might only get to the 4-5 win mark this year. I mean, I know they've got some games against the Commanders and the Patriots, and I get that, but you can probably chalk them up for at least 3 more losses, which is 10. And I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to lose a game against New Orleans on the road potentially. This is probably a 4-5 win team tops, which probably puts you in position for a round definitely inside the top 10. Now, who's going to be there? Well, Michael Penix is the biggest one. I think Penix has taken over Caleb Williams. I mean, he completely outplayed him on Saturday night against USC. He has taken the college football world by storm. I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. And I don't think there's much debate. I think Caleb Williams was, but if we're being honest, Caleb Williams the last 3-4 weeks has not looked like Caleb Williams. And it kind of started with that Notre Dame game. Now, part of it's the offense. I didn't think he played bad Saturday night. Although the whole, I'm not going to go down the road of the whole where he was emotional after the game. I'm not going to go down that road because that's a complete different debate. Fans are split all over the place. I'm not going to go down that road. But I think it's probably Penix, Caleb Williams, and then Drake May's right up there as well. Now, where do the Giants fall in the draft? If they fall within the top 5, I think you're probably in range for it, because I think Penix will probably go to Arizona. I think Arizona is probably a 2-3 win team. They get the first overall pick. They'll take Penix, and I think they'll roll from there. And I don't think Penix is, I could be wrong. Maybe Caleb Williams still is the number 1 overall pick. We'll see. These are questions you can have now. You can think of a million different things the New York Giants can do. But the top 3 are Penix, Caleb Williams, Drake May. You want to put Drake May instead of Caleb Williams? Fine. I think Penix, though, is the best quarterback in this draft. I think he's jumped Caleb Williams. He had the big win against Oregon, beat USC, might take his team to the college football playoff. I mean, Penix is dominating. I mean, he is phenomenal. And I think he's proven it. So we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe the Giants somehow end up with the number 1 overall pick. Look, a lot still has to transpire over the next 2 months. But you feel for Daniel Jones because there's a really good chance that last night, or yesterday evening, I should say, he played the final snap as a New York Giant. Now, if the New York Giants want to say, hey, the offensive line was brutal, and again, maybe they go with that. Maybe they go ahead and say, hey, the offensive line was brutal. They didn't give him any weapons. Maybe the Giants say, we just paid this guy a year ago, and I understand they can get out of the contract and stuff, but maybe they say, look, he's our guy, and they go and bring in a Marvin Harrison and give him a number 1 weapon. hope Waller can maybe come back better next year, go out and maybe sign a T. Higgins, and all of a sudden your receiving room that goes from Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, and guys like that turns into Maserati Marvin Harrison, as Gus Johnson calls him, and T. Higgins, and you get maybe a Darren Waller back from injury who hopefully can stay healthy. And you say, all right, Daniel, or Danny, whatever you want to call him, here's your weapons, go out there and make some plays. Maybe that's the approach the Giants take. They could go that way too, where they might say, hey, we didn't do good. We didn't put enough around him. We didn't. And I said that going into this year with the Giants, and a lot of people went after me for it. Like, oh, no, they got Waller, they got Paris Campbell. The Giants went into this year without a legitimate number one receiver. Now, make no mistake, though. You got to get the issues up front fixed first for the New York Giants. They have to. Because you can have Marvin Harrison, you can have T. Higgins, you can have all these guys. You can have Darren Waller come back stronger than ever next year and have Daniel Jones. If he doesn't have time in the pocket, none of it's going to matter. So the guys up front, they've got to get that figured out. Do they want to draft an offensive lineman? Do they want to go out and trade for somebody? A lot of questions they're going to come in front of Joe Shane's desk here over the next couple months as you head into that April draft. But if you're a Giant fan today, you've got to shift your focus to the NFL draft. And I know that sucks because, believe me, I mean, we've been through it year after year after year with the New York Jets where we're talking draft, usually even earlier than this. Usually we're talking draft in October, right? But year after year after year, it's awful. But you have to turn your focus. And the debates now begin. Do you want to keep Daniel Jones, build around him? Do you want to go out and, look, I don't think a veteran's going to happen. Do you go out and sign a veteran? I don't think that's going to happen. Do you go out and make a trade for or bring in a T. Higgins? Bring in Marvin Harrison in the draft. If things work out that way. Again, you don't know where the Giants are going to end up with the draft. They might lose out, win 2 games, and get the number 1 overall pick. Right? You don't know what's going to happen. They might roll Tommy DeVito out there next week. If they keep doing that, they're going to lose to the Patriots. If they keep rolling Tommy DeVito out there. I mean, I'm not trying to attack Tommy DeVito. Local kid, grew up in Jersey, all that stuff. Scored his first threw his first passing touchdown yesterday. All that good stuff. Fine, good for him. But Tommy DeVito is not good. I mean, he's a practice squad quarterback at best, and maybe an emergency on game day. That's what he is. I mean, there's a good chance you see Matt Barkley out there yesterday. And I mean, if you're a Giant fan too, you ask serious questions about Dable. I mean, why wasn't Barkley out there yesterday? You could ask the same question the week prior. Why wasn't Barkley on the roster against the Jets? At least somebody that can complete a pass past the line of scrimmage. Right? We'll see. So, you could always ask questions too about Dable. You've heard reports that the locker room's divided. The leaders' voices aren't quite getting through. Is that Dable? Or is that just the guys in the locker room? Are those the Xavier McKinneys of the world, the captains? They've got 9 captains. Are the captains just simply not doing their jobs? You also have a question now about Saquon. And I go back to the deadline. I don't know why they didn't trade Saquon. They should have traded Saquon. Saquon's not coming back, especially if they go into this rebuild mode. Saquon, at this point in his career, needs to try and go to a team and try and win. He's not going to sit through another 3-year rebuild. He's just not. Nor are the Giants going to give him that money. So I still go, and again, I think Shane got a really good deal for Leonard Williams. No doubt about it, but I think you could have potentially gotten rid of a guy like a Paris Campbell because there was a couple receiver-needy teams out there. You probably could have gotten rid of Saquon, guys that probably won't be back next year. So it starts now for the Giants. But if you're a Giant fan, comment down below, what are your thoughts on this quarterback situation? Again, you feel horrible for Daniel Jones. And I'll be the first to say it, too. And the same thing happened with Rodgers. And unfortunately, there are sports fans out there that are just like this. They have no lives and they feel it's okay. But the people out there making fun of the Daniel Jones injury, just stop that right now. Making fun of a guy getting hurt, potentially questions now surrounding his future with the team. That's just not cool. And I'll tell you that right now. I mean, you're scrolling through, seeing all these people making fun of the Daniel Jones injury is just ridiculous. You don't have to like the guy. You can hate Daniel Jones. You can hate the Giants, whatever, but you don't make fun of a guy when he gets hurt, especially when it's an injury that severe that's going to sideline him for the rest of the year. And again, now there's questions around if he's ever going to put on that uniform again and play another snap for the New York Giants. So we'll see. I think you'll have more clarity on what the Giants are going to do. If I had to guess, I think the Giants are going to go into the offseason. I think they're going to go draft the quarterback, and they're going to give Dable and say, hey, here's your quarterback. You got the keys. Here's the car. You got to drive it. You got to help him out. Here we go. And I think now that's what they're going to do. And if it works out, we'll see. I mean, I don't think Dable's getting fired. I really don't. Unless if things really spiral over the next course of whatever. They're 9 games in. They've got 8 games left. Unless if things really spiral over the next 8 games where you hear more stuff coming out of the locker room, there's guys quitting, the team's getting smoked. Unless if they continue to lose games like this and they lose to the Patriots at home, like a score of 30-3, and they're not even showing up. Unless if that's the case, I can maybe see Dable getting fired, but I don't think Dable's going anywhere. Now you could come up with the saying of, hey, McAdoo got fired. The only thing with McAdoo that was different is I think what got him fired was benching Eli Manning for no reason to bring in Geno Smith. That's ultimately what got him fired. He pretty much disrespected a franchise legend for no reason. They were playing meaningless games. Why did he bench Eli to bring in Geno Smith? That made no sense. He made that move just to make the move, just to snap Eli's streak of consecutive games, all that stuff. That's why McAdoo got fired. Dable's not going to do that. He can't bench anybody for anybody else good because he's already thin at the position. I don't know. I mean, Dable, who knows? Maybe Dable doesn't come back. Again, if the reports are true that maybe the locker room's divided, maybe they fire Dable. But then again, if they are going to draft a quarterback, you're going to have to bring in an offensive-minded coach, and you're going to have to hope that you're going to have to trust him to develop Dable or develop that quarterback. Now, look, Dable was able to develop Josh Allen. If you give him another quarterback that's not been in the league like Daniel Jones was, could he develop him and could he mold him into the guy? You give him Drake May. Could he turn Drake May into a quality, really good starter for 10 to 15 seasons? Who knows? We'll see. And again, you want to look at this from a glass half full, maybe the New York Giants get the next C.J. Stroud. And they go out there next season after a lost year this year. They bring in a rookie. They bring in a couple receivers around him. And this time next year, we're talking about a 4-4, 5-4 Giants team as opposed to 2-7 where they're at right now. But they've got a lot of paths. They got to choose one. A lot of football still left to be played. 8 more games left for the New York Giants. Now, they're 8 games that don't mean a whole lot. But they are 8 games, I think, that will decide a lot when it comes to draft position, who the New York Giants are going to take. And college football season is now important because now if you're a Giant fan, got to see who's out there. And I'm not saying that to joke around. It's the truth. I mean, when the Jets are searching for their quarterback, I was watching Ohio State, Clemson, BYU all the time, figuring out what Trevor Lawrence. Well, obviously Trevor Lawrence was the number 1, but if we didn't end up getting the number 1 pick, looking around. So it'll be interesting, but really is crazy to think where the Giants were even this time last year to where they are right now, where they're on the brink of a 4-5 win season and a top 10, top 5 draft pick and maybe a new quarterback when just a couple months ago Daniel Jones got a big contract extension and Giants fans thought they found their answer. And again, you feel horrible for Jones. Now, for the game yesterday, look, I think we all knew they were going to probably lose that game, even with Jones back. It's the Raiders with their new coach, Antonio Pierce, all that stuff. They came out smoking cigars after the game, which I have no issue with. I think that's more of a celebration of Josh McDaniels is out of there, and the Raiders hated that guy. You can even tell Devontae Adams was a little bit more happy. A week before he was slamming his helmet, all that stuff. In the locker room, he was happy. Even though he didn't get targeted enough, I think those guys want to win. They found a way to win, and they'll get the Jets next week. Hopefully, a Jet team coming off a Monday night victory tonight. So that was the Giants. Again, comment down below. What do you think the New York Giants need to do? And there's no doubt, look, this is a step back. Because a lot of Giants fans thought, and myself included, I just as an outsider, I thought the Giants were going to finish second in division this year. I was very high on the New York Giants going into this season. I still think they lacked a lot, but I thought next year was their year, their year to legitimately go in and compete with some of the higher-end teams and legitimately make a case. This year was, I think, another, a season for them to make the playoffs again. Then next year they go out and, whether it's drafting a receiver or signing a receiver, bringing a guy like a T. Higgins, right? Then next year was their year to say, all right, now we're going all in. Got more talent. Year 3 with, Daniel Jones, Dable. Now it's time to just only up. Now it's time to turn into that 11, 12 win team that we want to be. But this is a massive step back because a lot of people talked about closing the gap in the division. And going into this year, you thought they closed the gap. But in reality, they've actually widened the gap. And I don't want to sound negative, but putting a rookie quarterback in that division with 2 very good defenses in Dallas and Philly is not going to be easy. It's not. So we'll see. But the Commanders and the Giants seem to be along that path of reset, retool, and see what happens. But it's definitely disappointing for the Giants because you thought you were closing the gap. You thought you were getting closer. You walked off that field last year against Philly knowing that they were the better football team by a lot. You improved a little bit in the offseason. They made some moves. Came into this year, seemed like they closed the gap a little bit. Next year was their year. Now they take a step back, and now it's kind of resetting. Okay, now we're going to have to, it's a bigger gap. Now we're going to have to close it again, get back, and it's a tough spot to be in. And they're entering down that road again, that risky road of drafting a rookie quarterback, which we flip on now to the Houston Texans. If you're the Texans, they made the right move. But again, drafting a quarterback's risky. I mean, it always is because you never know what's going to happen. Panthers right now are probably sitting there and saying, we had C.J. Stroud in front of us. And Bryce Young had another dud yesterday where he threw 3 interceptions. But what a game for C.J. Stroud. And I was talking to somebody earlier today about this, and maybe I'm crazy, and I had him on my fantasy football team, so maybe I'm a little biased because I want him to continue to dominate like this, and it's awesome. Good for D'Amico Ryans, good for C.J. Stroud. I'm happy for the Texans. They had a lot go on over the last couple years, and I'm happy for their fans, happy for Stroud, happy for the D'Amico Ryans. Just seems like a well-respected, good guy that got a good opportunity, and the guys are believing in him. Happy for C.J. Stroud. I personally, I thought I liked where the Texans were headed going into this year. I wasn't so sure about C.J. Stroud coming out of the preseason, I'll be honest. I mean, I thought he'd be good. I didn't think he'd be this good. But he's erasing a narrative about Ohio State quarterbacks because there's been a lot of Ohio State quarterbacks that have gone to the NFL and failed miserably. C.J. Stroud might be one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've seen in a very long time. I mean, this guy is smashing rookie records. Forget about him winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's ran away with that. He's run away with that. Forget about that. This guy is if you even want to call him dark horse, but this guy's got to be in the conversation for MVP. He's got to be. And if he somehow takes this Texans team to the playoffs, where many thought this team was a year away, or at least 2 years away from legitimately competing, they're 4-4 right now. They're right in the heart of the playoff picture in the AFC. And the reality is, their schedule does strengthen a little bit here, but they've got some games over the next couple weeks against, the Cardinals and the Broncos and teams like that, and a couple of those games are home. But look, if C.J. Stroud goes out there and continues to play this way the rest of the season, I'm not saying 5 touchdowns every week, but the Texans have been in pretty much every single game this year. You could sit here and say the Texans could easily be a 5-win team right now, 5-3. Maybe if they squeak out that victory against Atlanta where they kicked the game-winning field goal, you could honestly sit here and say even that Panthers win last week was a tough one on the road against a bad Carolina team. They probably could have won that game. This team could easily be, 6-2 right now. If they pick up that, they lost 2 games by a combined score of 5. They also had a bumpy start to start the season, if you remember. They lost the first 2 games. They were 0-2. They lost those first 2 against Baltimore and Indy, which I'm not saying they should have won those games, but you also have to realize rookie quarterback first 2 games, there was definitely some growing pains there. Since that point, though, they're 4-2, and they've been great. And C.J. Stroud's got to be in the conversation for potentially winning MVP this year. Let's say this Texans team goes on and wins 10 games this year, and they get to the playoffs, and maybe they win a round, and C.J. Stroud ends with 25, 26 touchdowns, let's say, and a low number of picks. Let's say somehow he throws like 3 picks. You can't tell me he's not in the conversation for MVP. Right now this season, C.J. Stroud's got 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, and has thrown 1 interception. And that's the most impressive thing. He's a rookie quarterback. How many times have we seen rookies have high interception numbers? It's normal. It's very normal for a rookie to have those interception numbers go up because they're rookies. The NFL, completely different game from college. Defense are different. Game's faster. Decision-making's quicker. Sometimes these guys aren't as sharp decision-making wise, aren't making decisions quick enough. They turn that into turnovers. He has 1 pick. And again, it took him 6 games, or in the 6th game to throw an interception. And even in that game that he threw that pick, he still threw for 2 touchdowns and 200 yards. 199 yards. But let's be honest, it's 200. And that's how good he was still. And he is unbelievable. He's the best rookie quarterback I've seen in a very long time. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but again, again, see, like Mahomes, he sat his rookie year. So I think a lot of people out there, I was talking to somebody earlier today, they're like, oh, how Mahomes do? Well, he sat behind Alex Smith his rookie year. So Mahomes technically doesn't count. He's a stud. He is an absolute beast. And Tank Dell as well. You got to give this Texans front office a lot of credit too. Because they brought in some nice, reliable pieces around. Even Dalton Schultz. He's been a great, reliable piece. I love that move for Houston. A reliable veteran tight end for a rookie quarterback is his best friend. It's a quarterback's best friend to begin with, but especially for a rookie. As well, again, they brought in Tank Dell, who went to Houston, grew up in, Florida, went to Houston. Last year was a 3rd-round pick. He's fit really well in with C.J. Stroud. They've got a nice they've built some nice chemistry with each other. You hope to see that continue to grow. This Texans team set up very well for the future. Very well. Got to give them a lot of credit, man. And you got to give this coaching staff a lot of credit, the offensive staff a lot of credit, and C.J. Stroud deserves a ton of credit. 30 of 42, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, 56 fantasy points. Potentially saved my fantasy football season. If it wasn't for C.J. Stroud, I'd probably be staring at 3-6 right now. Instead, I'm hopefully going to be 4-5. Need Greg the Leg to put some in tonight, and we'll be in a good spot, fantasy football-wise. But what a day for C.J. Stroud. Happy for him. Happy for the Texans. DeMeco Ryans. AFC South, man. Jaguars are rolling, but watch out. Texans are coming. I think Jacksonville will win the division, but the Texans are a feisty team and a good young team that's going to be good for a very long time. They got the foundation laid. Go for the postseason. You got the quarterback. He continues to play this well. That team can easily be a 9-10 win team with Stroud. Moving on to a couple other games. The Ravens were all over Seattle. I don't want to overreact to the Ravens, but, man, they're good. The Ravens are good. I mean, when you look at point differential, this team's had some big blowouts. They've got a plus 115 point differential. I mean, some of these games already been close. They're just a more dominant team. They beat up Detroit, beat up Seattle. One thing I'll say about the Ravens, you do not want to go into Baltimore right now. You do not want to go into Baltimore right now to play the Ravens because they have just been dominant at home this season. Another dominant showing yesterday, 7-2 on the year. The AFC North is still open, especially with the Bengals playing this way, but if the Ravens continue, this Raven team might be the number 1 seed in the AFC. They might end up being the number 1 seed because I think they've looked better than Kansas City. We'll see. Ravens dominated all over Seattle. Geno Smith and the Seahawks yesterday. Chiefs over the Dolphins again. Dolphins lose to another team over 500. Questions about Tua. Questions about the Dolphins. Can they actually win? I'll be honest. I think Mike McDaniel deserves a lot of credit because he is a solid coach and he's done a great job scheming guys open. But there is some criticism to throw on McDaniel. As much as we can criticize Tua, no doubt about it, for a coach to not be able to win some of these big games is concerning. It is. Because let's be honest here. You're the Dolphins. You want to go out there and win a championship, go deep in the postseason. You're not going to play Carolina every week. You're not going to play some of these bad teams. You're not going to get the Patriots in the wild card round. Right? Let's go through some of these other bad teams Miami has beat. You're not going to get the Broncos and their defense every week. They've beaten teams all under 500. You're not going to get the Patriots at home every week. That's on coaching, I think. There's a lot of coaches out there that are really good that could never win the big game. For a while, it was Andy Reid. right now, Mike McDaniel is along that line of a coach that's good but cannot win the big games. He's had many opportunities to win a couple of these big games. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, all these big matchups, and they come up flat in all of them. And they look really bad in all of them, too. Like, the teams just does not seem to be ready. They just seem to be outmanned, outmatched. And I think maybe some of it's talent. I think a lot of it is Tua. I've said this a lot about Tua. I don't think he's a quarterback that can take a team deep. I just don't. I think he's got a ceiling, and I think he's hit it. He's good, but I don't think he's elite. I don't think he can go out there and play stride for stride Mahomes and beat him in a playoff game in Arrowhead. I just don't think he can do that. And I don't think he can go out there and beat Joe Burrow in a playoff game. Even Josh Allen in a playoff game. We've seen it. I don't think he can do it. So I think coaching, Tua, a lot of it, but man, the Dolphins cannot beat a team with a winning record. It is wild. I mean, it is crazy. And that's a team right there. That's the definition of a fraud. Beats good teams, can't beat the bad team. Or beats bad teams, can't beat the good teams. So, 6-3 Miami. Win tonight by the Jets. Please win tonight, New York Jets, and this division will continue to be wide open. Packers all over the Rams. Colts over the Panthers. Eagles over Dallas. That game was crazy. I don't know what Cowboys were doing. I don't know why they didn't spike it. Dak played well. Again, I mean, if you're somebody today blaming Dak, you just did not watch the game. He played well. I think a lot of it was coaching. I don't know why they didn't spike. They could have had 2 plays as opposed to 1, and the one play that they ran when they didn't spike it was horrible. They hurt themselves with some penalties there late. The false start, the delay game. They had a great opportunity to win. And football's a game of inches. Dak, when he stepped out, it's unfortunate. He was right there. You had the other play, too, with the tight end where he almost got in. It's a game of inches. It's just, that's the way football is. It can be painful sometimes. And unfortunately, the Cowboys yesterday were on the opposite ends of the inches. The Eagles got benefited. Cowboys did not. Bengals over the Bills. That was the other big one yesterday. What a win for the Bengals. The Bengals are getting hot at the right time. I think a lot of people are realizing this. A lot of people said Joe Burrow should be fully healthy by week 5, and week 5 came around, and ever since, the Bengals have been winning. They're on a 3-game win streak. Arizona, Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo, all teams they beat. And you looked at those 3 teams, Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo, and you said to yourself, man, the Niners season, the Bengals season rests on these 3 games. They went into these 3 games 2-3, and they come out of these 3 games 5-3. Got to give a ton of credit to Burrow. They're right back alive. They've won 4 straight after a 1-3 start. They're now 5-3, and they got a couple big matchups coming up next. C.J. Stroud and the Texans. They've got the Ravens on the road. They've got the Steelers, the Jaguars. They've got 4 big games coming up. But if they continue to play like this can easily be another 11-win season for Cincinnati, where they're right in the conversation come postseason time in the AFC. And for Buffalo, you have a lot of questions about their defense. You have some questions about Josh Allen. You want to question the coach. There are concerns with Buffalo. And I think we've all said it. Buffalo is not Buffalo of the past. It seems like their window of dominance, or their window of being that really dominant team that's a 13-win team like every season that just plows through everybody, Allen's great, has closed. They haven't looked good. Last year they didn't look great. They lost a snowy playoff game at home to Joe Burrow. And the Bengals have had their number. No matter which way you draw it up, Joe Burrow has outplayed Josh Allen in a whole lot of games. You can hate Joe Burrow. You can hate the Bengals. But at the end of the day, he's the better quarterback than Josh Allen. And that's really what it comes down to. Josh Allen had some questionable plays last night. No doubt about it. The defense, again, was not good for Buffalo. A lot of that soft zone, the Bengals just picked right through it, and they found their errors, and they got the job done. There are definitely some concerns with Buffalo. You want to blame it on coaching? I think there's a lot of Bills fans out there that continue to say Sean McDermott's a guy that can take a bottom 5 roster in the NFL and bring him to a wild card game. He's also the guy that can take a top 5 roster in the NFL and bring him to a wild card game, which basically means he can do a lot with a little, but he can't do a lot with a lot of talent. This Bills team's got a lot of talent. It's just not working. I don't think it's I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to miss the postseason, although they are in jeopardy of that. But their schedule does not get any easier. They do have Denver coming up at home. They should beat Denver. They lose to Denver, then there's chaos. But then they've got, again, the Jets, which, look, I'm not being biased, but we beat them. So that's not going to be an easy matchup for either team. Should be a good game. Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins. But that stretch of Eagles, Chiefs, which are 2 road games back-to-back, and then Kansas City, and then the Cowboys are brutal. That's a brutal stretch of games for Buffalo. They're 5-4. They come out of their weakest part of the schedule 5-4. Not that I should say Bengals are weak. They came out of that weakest part of their schedule like 5-3. Now they enter the hard part and they're 5-4. Tough spot to be in for Buffalo. And for Cincinnati, they're getting hot. All right, so now I move on to the big game tonight. By the way, I went 12-1 this week on my game picks, so 92-43 overall. The only game I picked wrong was the Packers and the Rams. Rams without Stafford were horrible yesterday. Packers found a way to get the job done, so good for them. But the game tonight that we're all focused on is the New York Jets and the Los Angeles Chargers at MetLife Stadium. Chargers 3-4, Jets 4-3, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Chargers 3.5-point favorites. ESPN Analytics has given the Chargers a 61.2% chance of winning. They're giving the New York Jets a 38.5% chance of winning. I am so pumped up for this game. This is a massive game for the New York Jets. The over-under set at 40.5. Chargers, again, the 3.5-point favorites. Just letting you know, I'll take the Jets plus 3.5. I'll take the Jets to win this game. Huge for so many reasons. Again, even for not only for the AFC for the Jets is this game big, but also for the AFC playoff picture. Because let's say the New York Jets do go on and not win the AFC. This game could ultimately decide late in the year whether or not the Jets make the playoffs. If the Jets and the Chargers are both fighting for, because let's be honest here, Chargers aren't winning the AFC West. Chiefs have run away with that division. So the only way the Chargers get in is the wild card. Despite some miracle of the Chiefs falling off the face of the earth and the Chargers stepping up and winning. But they're going to get in by a wild card. So this game, late in the season, if the New York Jets and Chargers both end at 9-8, and the Jets lose tonight, and the Chargers win, they'll have the tiebreaker. Boom, they're in. So for the Jets, you want to continue to control your own destiny. And the Jets, when we say they control their own destiny, they really do. Because they've got it all in front of them. The New York Jets have got it all in front of them. All of it. They've got the Chargers tonight, which they win. They got the tiebreaker over them. Again, they've got the tiebreaker right now over Buffalo. They still got a game against Buffalo. They sweep Buffalo. They win. They got the tiebreaker all day over Buffalo, which could be huge late in the season. And then they've still got Miami twice. They want to win the division. They want to make the playoffs. It's all in front of them. The Jets really don't need any more help. They've gotten a ton of help. It's all in front of them. And it starts tonight. I think tonight starts this second half run for the New York Jets. They've got 9 games left, including tonight. You want to be a playoff team, you've got to find a way to go 6-3. 6-3, I think you might get in with 9, but if you want to try and win a division, you want to play it safe, you got to get in with 10. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers in the back of these guys' minds continues to motivate them a little bit. But they've got 2 games in 2 weeks up against the Bills and the Dolphins. And all of us Jet fans have said, and I couldn't agree more, you have to go into those 2 games at least 5-4. At best, you're 6-3. I think we can all agree. They should win tonight, and they should beat Vegas. They're the better football team tonight and on Sunday night next week. And for Robert Saleh and this coaching staff, you've got to find a way. Out-coach Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley's not a good coach. You're the better coach team. Your defense is on fire. They've shut down some of the league's best. They'll get another opportunity tonight against Herbert. What I want to see out of Nathaniel Hackett is let it loose. And I think the Jets are going to realize we can't win this game with 10, 13 points. We're going to have to win this game with 20-23. And I hope we see a Zach Wilson performance as we did on Sunday night a couple weeks ago against Kansas City, where they're rolling him out, they're letting him throw the ball deep, they're running some trickery, more creative, doing what he does best, playing while he's not thinking, maybe some up-tempo. But look, this defense plays well. and the New York Jets offense goes out there and puts up 20. I think if the Jets score 20 tonight, I think they win. Because my prediction, I'm taking the Jets 20-17. I think the Jets win this game with 20 points. If the Jets hit 20 points, I think they win. The question is, will they hit that? We'll see. They're not going to be able to win this game with 13. Maybe they'll win with 17, 14 maybe, but this Chargers offense, they've got some pieces. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in football when he gets hot. Right? I would not be surprised if the Chargers, their defense is the weakness of their team. They've got one of the worst defenses in football. And another reason for Zach to let it loose, they've got the worst pass defense in football. They're allowed in 297.4 pass yards per game. That's last in the NFL. And I love Breece Hall. I would love for him to see him have a big run tonight. Break out another 83-yard run like he did against Buffalo on Monday Night Football again. But I don't think this is going to be a huge Breece Hall night because the Chargers have the 6th best rush defense in football, allowing below 100 yards per game and 93.4. And you know they're going to stack the box and force Zach to throw. And they're going to hold. They should be able to find. They're going to try and find a way to stop the run. They do that, it's going to be up to Zach and his arms. And look, they almost took care of business against Kansas City with Zach. He goes out there and plays like that. I mean, we should win. I think this game comes down to one guy. I think two guys, Nathaniel Hackett and Zach Wilson. I'm not worried about the defense, I'll be honest. And I don't want to sound cocky, but I trust this defense. I trust this defense, even with all the weapons. I trust this defense to take care of business. It ultimately comes down to the play calling and the execution for Zach Wilson. That's what it comes down to tonight. And if the New York Jets can do those things, they would be 5-3 and a half game out of the in the AFC East. And you can completely control your destiny after that. You lose tonight, the whole controlling your own destiny is still intact, but you're going to need some help with the Chargers down the road losing. You win tonight, you got all the tiebreakers, and you got the division right in front of you. So let's go Jets. Find a way to win. 20-17, I'll take the Jets over the Chargers. I have a weird feeling that they're going to let it loose with Zach. I really do. And maybe that's just me trying to talk myself into it, but I think this coaching staff's got to realize, hey, we're not going to win. We're not facing Tommy DeVito. This team's going to pass the football. They have a quarterback capable of throwing a ball past the line of scrimmage. You're not going to get DeVito every week. You got Herbert this week. They're going to take chances. Secondary holds up, score points, win. Get the job done. So Jets tonight. I potentially have a live stream tomorrow around 10:30, 11-ish, recapping the game. So stay tuned for that. I potentially could have that. If not, I might just have to do a regular video. Scheduling opens up this week a lot. I'll have podcasts. I'll have live streams or videos up Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So stay tuned. We'll have some more content coming your way this week. Let's go, Jets. Find a way to get the win. I'll have an In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast pretty much right after the Jet game. Do my recap. So game ends at 11. That'll probably be up by, I would say, 12:30, 1 a.m. because I'll get it up and eventually when it loads. So for your morning commute tomorrow, if you want to listen to that, hopefully a Jet win, that'll be up here in a little bit or shortly after the game, hopefully after a New York Jets W. This, I tell you what, they lose tonight, it would be a really just a brutal blow to the season because everything's gone our way. Like everything we've asked for. 2 weeks ago we wanted New England to win, and they won. We needed Philly to win, and they won during the bye week. Yesterday we needed Kansas City to win. They won. We needed Bengals to win. They won. The New York Jets have won 3 straight. They've climbed themselves back into the race after a 1-3 start where all hope just looked lost. And here we are. 4-3, 5-3 in front of us. Hopefully, by 11:30 tonight, the New York Jets are walking out of there with the victory. So that'll do it for an episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Stay tuned. A lot more content coming your way. Let's go, Jets. And thanks for watching.